Governor Janet Mills spoke with reporters today at Biddeford City Hall for the first time since Johann Sebastian Guerrero was shot and killed on Monday morning.
Today, she sent a letter to Maine's 4 members of the congressional delegation saying, quote, ICE needs to be fundamentally reformed, and if not, it should be abolished. News Center Maine's Sam Olson joining us live once again from Biddeford tonight. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Brian and Amanda. I have joined you guys the past 2 evenings and from this intersection, and you can see how this memorial for Johann Sebastian Guerrero has only grown. Now, people over the past couple days here in Biddeford have criticized ICE and their methods, and today, Governor Janet Mills spoke here in Biddeford advocating for ICE to be fundamentally reformed. Mills says this violence has to end before more families lose their loved ones. Mills wrote in her letter to the delegation asking Congress to reform ICE and require the agency to respect the rule of law. Yesterday, DHS ordered ICE agents to stop conducting traffic stops. However, today, President Donald Trump overturned that order. Governor Mills says the order was insufficient, but more has to be done.
The Congress of the United States needs to rein in actions by any federal agency that has been involved in what was involved in Minnesota, for instance, Minneapolis. And they have failed to take any action. So yes, we're doing the best we can, working with state and local law enforcement and communities to make sure people are safe. I've been asking for months for Congress to impose certain measures of accountability surrounding ICE, certain reforms. And if they can't do that, as I said in my letter, then it should be abolished.
Today, I also spoke with the executive director of the Maine Immigrants' Rights Coalition. She says the coalition has been helping Guerrero's wife and young daughter. Guerrero's family has also set up a GoFundMe page online. So far, it has raised more than $415,000. The family wrote that those donations will help them with legal expenses and funeral costs, and also take his body back to Columbia, where they hope to lay Guerrero to rest. Live in Biddeford tonight, Sam Olson, News Center Maine.
Sam, thank you. Now, soon, no state or local law enforcement agency in Maine will even be allowed to coordinate with Immigration and Customs Enforcement unless it's a criminal investigation. The law was and remains controversial, and it raises questions following Monday's shooting in Biddeford. Christian Harsa has been looking into this law and joins us now with more on this. Hi, Christian.
Hi, Amanda. Governor Janet Mills justified letting this bill become law, writing in an op-ed, "The time calls for it," back in December. Today, she affirmed her decision, but some wonder if Biddeford police, if they had been involved in Monday morning's traffic stop, this could have ended differently.
I think that ICE is just too quick to pull out their guns and shoot people. They have no respect for life, anybody's life.
Mary Hayes lives just up the road from where Johann Sebastian Guerrero was shot and killed Monday in Biddeford.
I feel like if it was the local police, they would have stopped him and found a way to arrest him without shooting him in the face.
Raising a controversial question.
I think there is a damn good chance that this would have ended differently if the local police had been notified and had at least been standing by to assist.
Leading Maine's Fraternal Order of Police, Mike Eads, says historically, local departments would talk with ICE.
There was minimum working with them. There was a lot of communication with them, but it's two different types of law enforcement. But we were always there to assist.
That help wasn't always requested. Eads thinks Maine's new law preventing any coordination on immigration enforcement is a mistake.
This was a law passed by politicians. It was a political law, not one that, in my experience, was well thought of.
Biddeford's Mayor Liam LaFountain said his city's police department does not work with and was not notified by ICE before Monday's traffic stop.
And I don't see that changing.
It was Governor Janet Mills who ultimately let the controversial bill become law.
I stand by my position. Look, it has been adopted by all the serious agencies across the state, including the state police.
Going into effect July 29th, the law remains controversial. The ACLU of Maine sticks by its endorsement.
It's so critically important that Maine draw a line between its own resources, its own officials, and this out-of-control agency.
Eid says legislators should reconsider it.
They have to, unless they want stuff like this to continue.
When News Center Maine asked Governor Mills and Biddeford Mayor LaFountain if Monday's ICE traffic stop in Biddeford would have had a different outcome if local police had been involved, both said they did not want to speculate on that. Now let's head over to Bailey Cornick in Augusta as a rally in support of ICE takes place this evening. Hi, Bailey.
Hey, Christian. Hey, everyone. So the people here say, in their words, they've gathered in the name of common sense. They say they're here to support the men and women of ICE who they believe are under fire right now. People here say they support the America First agenda. They stand for law and order and that they support the ICE agents. One protester we spoke to says he's actually here in light of the fatal shooting on Monday and that ICE is getting a bad rap. Take a listen.
I think it's just to show support for law enforcement, local law enforcement, federal law enforcement they're to me personally, I think that they're getting a bad image thrown at them by a lot of armchair quarterbacks who are looking at situations saying, "Oh, I would have done this, I would have done that." I've heard people say the amount of training is not there. As a former Marine infantryman. I've seen firsthand, as much training as you have, the minute a situation arises, everything can go sideways on you. And that's clearly what happened here.
And Jason there says he also feels for the Guerrero family at this time. And I do want to mention there's a bit of a counter protest across the street, just a few people. But for now, here's a look there. But for now, I'll toss it back to you guys, Brian and Amanda.
Bailey Cornick live for us in Augusta this evening. Bailey, our thanks to you. As Maine Democrats look to replace Graham Platter in the U.S. Senate race, News Center Maine is hosting a debate with the candidates. Tomorrow, 7 p.m., they will join us to talk about their policy goals and how they'd run against longtime Republican Senator Susan Collins. We've invited all of those who declared their candidacy before 5 p.m. yesterday. Rob Caldwell and Phil Hirschkorn will moderate. Again, that is 7 p.m. tomorrow.